how to get more clients as a financial advisor or wealth manager. We recently had one of our clients who is a financial advisor hit a record month. So in October, we made over 550K just in this month alone. So that's a new record for them and a new record for me. And this was able because we did a couple of things very right. So if you are a financial advisor or if you're a wealth manager and you want to get to this level or even beyond, right? Because I do think this month we're going to even surpass that month, and then we're going to scale and continue to scale. Then I basically distilled it down to 3 things that we are doing right with this client, and that especially they are doing right in their company. Right? I'm only the advisor, I can only guide, I can only do certain things that has brought them to this level of revenue. So if you want to get more clients as a financial advisor and wealth manager, here are the 3 things you need to be doing right. So number 1 is having an offer that people feel stupid saying no to. So this particular client, his offer is that he will save people a minimum of $500,000 in future taxes. He does Roth conversions and he's charging about $10,000 for that, right? So that's an insane offer. That's a 50-to-1 return on the investment, if you want to say it. So most people save even more than $500,000. They save about, like, I think 2.2 is the average of future income tax that people save them. The service is super white glove, right? They're experts at what they do. They treat the customer in the highest way possible. They don't use any type of, cheap, I want to say like Filipino VAs that communicate with the client at the beginning. It's all, high quality people that communicate that. So that's obviously an offer that people love. I made another video about offers. I'm going to link it somewhere on top here if you want to know how to create a better offer. But overall, the offer is probably the most important part. So if you are a wealth manager or if you are a financial advisor and you offer things like wealth planning or just some things that is generally vague, right? You have to be more specific. You have to promise a certain specific outcome that people, if they come invest with you, if they come work with you, what type of monetary gain can you actually provide them? And I know a lot of you are saying like, hey, I don't want to put some specific number out. There is some legal issues with that and stuff like that. You have to find a way of making that work. I scroll through the Facebook library every day. There's tons of people claiming very realistic outcomes of investment possibilities, of planning strategies. You have to find a way where it is legal and where you can promise people enough so that you attract enough attention. Because if you're just doing some type of vague planning, if you think that your marketing and offer strategy is going to be because you are such a good advisor or you listen to people or you care about your customer, guess what? Everybody else cares about their customer as well. Everybody else is also a good advisor. Everybody else is also a good investor. You're not going to be able to differentiate yourself by just claiming these types of things. You have to come in with something specific, a very realistic, believable outcome that people can achieve by working with you. And that's going to be your offer. That's going to be where you can attract and then advertise this offer. And this is how you're going to get more clients, 100%. I see way too many of you being vague about what you do, vague about what you promise, and you'd have to do a ton of convincing, a ton of education to get any clients in the door. So first and foremost, super important, create a good offer. Like I said, I made a video about this before, how to create an offer for wealthy people. You can check that out as well. But that's super important. Make a great offer. Something that is a tangible, calculated outcome by working with you and that they can only get from you. Number 2, you need a reliable customer acquisition process. Now, I'm not saying everybody should run advertising, although I strongly believe that at a certain point, everybody should be running advertising. But if you don't have the money, let's say you're below, I want to say $30,000 a month in revenue, maybe 40, 50, I would say below 30, then you probably don't have the stomach to just lose $5,000 on advertising and just learn something in that process, right? Like, your best bet is going to be, especially if you're in that lower, below 10K probably, right? If you have nothing going for you, you have to directly message people. In my opinion, your best bet is going to be LinkedIn. You're going to reach directly out to people, confront them with your offer, post educational content, invite them to a webinar, educate them. But remember, you have to have your offer and then you're going to sell them on your offer. LinkedIn is a great platform to post content. LinkedIn is a great platform to run webinars from. And you can also do something like YouTube, right? Like, YouTube is free. You can post content on YouTube, but you need to reach out to people. You need to proactively approach people with your good offer and say like, hey, if you come work with me, how about I'm going to get you X, or how about I'm going to help you solve X, right? Like, that's going to be super important. Now, once you cross the threshold of having enough cash to actually reinvest in advertising, you're gonna basically put everything on steroids, right? Advertising is just amplifying what you do already. So you have to have the message down and you have to have the offer proven before you can run any ads. Normally that happens about $20,000 to $30,000 a month in revenue. You know what you're doing. You're closing people from cold outreach, cold traffic, not just warm referrals that come to you. And then you can start advertising, because then you can get more people into your funnel with advertising and then reinvest the profits that you take from advertising to grow that business even more, even faster. So the client where we made about $550K in revenue is spending about $100,000 a month on ads, right? Like, so that's what it's gonna probably take. They were spending 160, 180 before we came in, so we reduced spend and increased the revenue, but you have to have a certain level of spend if you want to get to a certain level of revenue. Now again, I've made tons of videos about ads. They're also going to be linked on top where you can just create simple direct response ads. Once you have that going, that's going to get you a nice return on your money, right? Expect something from 3 to 6 times your money back. So return on ad spend is what we call it in the marketing world. ROAS, and that's what you're gonna get, right? Like maybe some people are really good at sales, really good at marketing, really good at building all that funnel. They're gonna get you an 8 or a 10, but I would expect somewhere between 3 and 6, especially once you start spending bigger sums. And you also can't be afraid of spending money on advertising. I've recently talked to a prospect. They were making about 250 grand a month, and they were afraid to spend $5,000 a month on ads, right? They were saying like, oh, this is $60,000 a year. Yeah, but I mean, you're gonna get your money back, right? It might take you 1 to 2 months that you get your money back, but you have to be willing to let that money run a little bit further, go a little bit further, get a little bit more prospect before you get that money back, right? So you have to have the patience, you have to have the capital and the stomach to invest in that. And that normally always works, right? Like it always works, but the question is like, how long do you have to spend until it works? And if you want to obviously fast track that process, you want to work with someone like me, right? Like we can get your ads running and profitable very, very fast, but you can also try this on your own, like I said, with the videos that I made and with the guides that you have there. Number 3 is becoming a master salesman. Right? I know a lot of you don't want to hear this. You want to be the best advisor, you want to be the best investor, you want to be the best wealth manager, but you don't want to become the best salesman. But if you're still asking yourself, how do I get more clients as a financial advisor and wealth manager? Then the answer is you have to become a master salesman. You have to know how to convince somebody that doesn't know you to actually buy your product, right? And if you can't do that, right? If you absolutely can't do it, you have to have the capital to hire expert salespeople. And they're not gonna be cheap, and they don't wanna work with anybody who's not doing any sales, right? So technically, you can't almost not learn this, right? Like otherwise your business will get stuck at the lower level. You will get stuck below 30K, 50K. You never grow to multiple 6 figures a month. You have to know how to sell. You have to consume sales training. There is a ton of sales training on YouTube. I've released a couple videos about follow-ups, about sales, best practices and stuff like that. You can check them out as well, but there's so much material. Get yourself a good sales coach, get yourself a good program that helps you teaches you how to sell people. It's not complicated. You have to do it, right? Like there's no way around it, because even if you hire people, you have to know if they are good salespeople or not. That means you have to have a certain experience in sales. And then once you have more salespeople in, you actually have to become the sales manager, or you have to hire a sales manager. That means you have to acquire these skills as well, and you have to know who you're dealing with, right? Or you're gonna pay a ton of money to recruiters and then don't know how to solve these pieces, right? Don't know how to put these pieces in place. So 100% you have to learn how to sell, you have to learn how to close, you have to learn how to take a stranger and convince them to buy your product. And not only do you have to become great at sales, you also have to become good at fulfilling the promise that you tell strangers to buy from you, right? You have to become an expert salesman and an expert advisor. That's super important. Both things have to work very, very well, because otherwise if you have a shit product, people are not gonna come back, people are not gonna tell their friends. And if you don't know how to sell, well, people won't know about your great product, right? So that's the 2 ways you have to approach this. And that's the last part that you really have to do well. The client that we worked with that did $550,000 in revenue, they have 8 salespeople and a sales trainer and a sales manager. So a ton of people getting a ton of knowledge, getting a ton of data, and then everything is shared and everything is communicated. And we're improving that as well. So, it's an ongoing process. You're never going to be perfect, but you have to have a certain volume of people that take calls. You have to know what you're doing so that you can hire those people. And then you also have to feed them with training material. They always have to be training. Salespeople need training. That's super important for them. So those are the 3 things that you have to do well if you want to get beyond $500,000 a month. I think we're going to crack the 650K mark this month. So maybe even like more than that. So if you want to fast track that process, right? Like if you need help with your offer, with your advertising and with your sales process, right? Like me as a consultant, we can come into your business, we can set that all up for you. We can help you hire the right people. We can help you set up the ads correctly, and we can also help you with your offer. Though normally we don't like to work with beginners too much. That means the offer has to already kind of be in place so that you know what you were doing. So if you feel like this is for you, right, you can schedule a call with me on the link below. And if you don't feel like you're there yet, right, then please watch the other videos on this channel that I made about how you can actually set that up for yourself.